Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley, and today I want to talk to you about a saint we remember every year on July 25th. And if you're about my age, I'm in my 50s, you may remember him also because his likeness was on dashboards in cars all across the country. And I'm talking, of course, about that patron saint of travelers, St. Christopher. Now, we don't know a whole lot about St. Christopher. We do believe he was killed right around the year 250, 251. Again, we're not sure exactly. But we do know his name was not initially Christopher. That was a name that was given to him later. His real name that he was known from birth is reprobate. Now, what's interesting is some scholars will tell you that reprobate is the root for our modern English word reprobate. A reprobate is somebody who's depraved, is perverse, who lives a kind of debauched life. And that really describes reprobate. As a young man, he was exceedingly tall and strong. Unusually tall and strong for his age. And so because of that, he was very prideful. He took advantage of his height and he just didn't care what people thought about him. He was just all that. And people were afraid of him, and he loved that. And it got to the point where when he was old enough, he hired himself out to a king to be their muscle kind of a thing, and to threaten enemies and to be the person who was going to really be the strong man for the king. Now, this king happened to be a Satan worshiper. And it's said that one day that reprobate and the king were traveling to a foreign land, and there was somebody preaching about Jesus Christ. And upon hearing that name, this Satanist king recoiled in fear and wanted to avoid this preacher at all costs. And that got reprobate to thinking a little bit. And he said, if this Jesus Christ guy is that strong that my king who worships Satan is going to be afraid of him, there must be something to this Jesus Christ guy. So I want to know something about him. So he sought out this holy man, this preacher. And he said, who is this Jesus you're talking about? And the preacher told him, regaled him with all the stories of Jesus, about his miracles, his preaching, his suffering, his death, and his resurrection, and that he's the Son of God. And reprobate was convinced and said, that's the guy I want to follow. I want to be like this. What do I have to do? And this holy monk, this preacher, said, well, what you should do is you should ask for forgiveness. You need to have instruction, learn the faith, become baptized, and then live in his service. So he did all those things. He went through instruction. He was baptized, and he was a believer, but he didn't know what to do in service. And so the holy monk said, you should probably live in a hut near this river, because the river would crest at times and people could not cross it. And you're so tall and so strong that you could literally put people on your shoulders or carry them on your shoulders to cross the stream so they can get to the other side. And so that's what he did. He lived in this hut. Reprobate lived in this hut, and he would literally pray and live a life of humility until somebody needed to cross, and then he would help them over. Now, it's said that at one point, a small child came and wanted to cross the stream. And so Christopher, reprobate, picked him up, carried him across the stream, and got him to the other side. And then the young child revealed himself as Jesus and thanked him for his service. And at that point, changed his name from reprobate to Christopher, which means Christ bearer, because he just bore Christ across the stream. This is why Christopher is known as the patron saint of travelers, because he is the one who carried people safely to their destination. Now, Christopher, as you can imagine, having this interaction with the Christ child just made him all the more zealous for the faith. So he decided to leave his hut, and he went back to his native land, which would be present-day Turkey, and he preached Jesus Christ. And it's said that he converted thousands of people to the faith because his faith, his testimony was so strong. The Roman emperor at the time, though, a guy named Decius, was not happy with this. And so he tried to get Christopher to stop. But Christopher was stronger and bigger than any of his soldiers. And so the Roman emperor decided, well, I'm going to get 400 of my strongest men, my best soldiers, and I'm going to send them to Christopher and say, you either stop or you're going to die. And it's said that when they got to Christopher, he reasoned with them. He debated them, and he was able to win every one of them over to the point where they got baptized, became baptized as Christians themselves. A remarkable feat. Obviously, Decius is going to be very upset about this, so he sent another slew of men who were able to hold down Christopher and behead him. Hence his martyrdom. Right around the year, again, 250 AD is when this happened. But again, patron saint of travelers because of the safety that he gave people across this harrowing stream that they were able to get through. But we see him, in a modern sense. Like I said, when I was a kid, I remember seeing him on my dad's dashboard and on keychains and pendants and necklaces and stuff. And he's still very popular. I would say the lesson we learned from Christopher is that if we have gifts, like he had the gift of height and strength, don't use it for himself. He didn't use it for himself. He did it first. But when he used it for others, he realized great joy and great purpose in his life. And so that's true of us. The gifts that we've been given by God, when we use them for ourselves, it's kind of a hollow thing. It's only when we use them for others, when we build up the community with the gifts we've been given, that's when we are truly people of faith. And that's when we really find our purpose and our meaning in our life, our joy. Now, just as an aside, in 1969, Pope Paul VI said there were a whole slew of saints that were going to take off the Roman calendar. And unfortunately, Christopher was one of them. And why were they taken? They were removed from the calendar because we just don't know a lot about them historically. A lot of what I've just told you about his life is based in legend. And so we're not sure about the historicity of it, how accurate it is historically. And so they were removed from the calendar. So if you look, like I said, his feast day is July 25th. If you look at a liturgical calendar, you're not going to find St. Christopher. Now, Paul VI was very quick to say, if you have a special devotion to those saints, in this case, St. Christopher, by all means, pray to St. Christopher. Pray with St. Christopher. You can have that devotion. There's no sin in that. There's no problem with that. The church just said we're going to remove them from the calendar. It doesn't mean they're removed from our hearts and from our minds if we find some devotion or some attraction to the example that they give. So anyway, that's the story of St. Christopher. If you know someone or love someone named Christopher, perhaps you want to share this with them, but you can share this content with anybody for that matter. But we'd love it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook. But either way, please keep tuning in every Friday for Fish on Fridays. Until next time, please be good to each other and God bless.